What is going on, Moto friends? Today I'm sitting here on my Tiger 1200 Rally Pro, which I've owned for about a year now. So I thought today would be a great day to make a one-year ownership review of this motorcycle. I want to talk to you about the things that I really loved about this bike, and then some of the things that I didn't like as much about this motorcycle. I want to help you make an informed decision whether this is a bike you should buy, test ride, or pass on. I'm going to start by talking about some of the key features of this bike, how it feels to sit on it, and then we're going to go for a test ride where I'm going to show you some on-road and off-road stuff so you can get a better idea of what it can do. But please note, I'm not going to be doing a full in-depth review. You can check out my other video that I did on this bike that'll give you the full details about everything you need to know. The first consideration, and a really important one, I think, is the height of this motorcycle. So the seat here is adjustable, but it's adjustable between 34 and 35 inches. So if you're a shorter rider, you really should try to get on this bike to see if the height and the weight is manageable for you. So I'm right around 5'11", 6 feet tall in boots, so this motorcycle for me is quite comfortable. Usually I like to mount it by cowboy mounting, put your left foot on the left foot peg and swing your leg over. This makes it easier too if you have a lot of luggage or put a backrest in like I did. But when I straighten the bike out, I'm not quite flat-footed, but I am on the main part of my foot. And then if my right foot's up on the peg like it should be at a stop, my left foot acts as the kickstand, and it's a very stable motorcycle. So if you're a shorter rider, I think you could easily manage this motorcycle since it is quite well balanced. I would just recommend test riding it and feeling it out for yourself before committing to it. The next thing to consider is the seat comfort, since your butt really is the first thing that's going to be touching the motorcycle, except maybe your hand when you're grabbing the handlebars to swing over. These seats are quite plush. This pillion seat is very soft, and when I've had passengers, they've said it was very comfortable. And same thing with the driver's seat. It's very plush, very good foam on there, and it's very wide in the back, so if you need more comfort, you can slide back, and it gives your butt a lot of space. So for longer road trips, highway riding, this has been a very comfortable bike. The longest trip I've done on this is about 3 hours round trip, and I didn't have any sort of soreness or discomfort the next day, so seat is quite good. Next, let's talk about the startup of this motorcycle, and this is kind of where my first pet peeve comes in. This, as you know, has a wireless key fob, so that's in my pocket right now. So on most motorcycles, you start it, it's either one click up and then a single push button to start. Here, it's a little more complicated. You have to turn the bike on first with the power button, wait for the screen turn on, and it is a very beautiful TFT screen. It gives you a little custom welcome with the Tiger name. Then you have to click down to prime the motorcycle. Then you hear it. Then you have to pull in the clutch and then start it. So two of the things, I don't like that you have to do 3 clicks to turn the motorcycle on, and I've had this messed up where it just takes time to turn the bike on. And then also pulling the clutch in when you're neutral to start the motorcycle. I'm kind of used to the motorcycle being able to start in neutral without having to pull the clutch in, but those are quite minor things. The thing I do really like about this motorcycle is how accessible all the controls and buttons are. So you have your turn signal indicators here, you have your riding modes right here in your thumb, and then you can click those, and it's very easy to scroll through them with this little toggle joystick and click it in with the check mark. The horn is right here, the seat warmers are here, you have your fog lights in the back, and you have a heated seat button, although this bike doesn't come with a heated seat, which is kind of crazy to me since this is basically their flagship line, and the Tiger 900 comes with heated seats. So you can buy those as an option, but I would have loved to see the full package on this bike. On the right side, you have your home button, you have your hazard lights, and then again, your starter button. So everything is very clearly laid out, and I think this is quite a nice and easy to navigate screen, your warnings, your service. You can change your damping and everything on the fly on this motorcycle from here, which is great. Then you can adjust your display with the brightness, and then it has a nice Bluetooth system where you can go into navigation, music, phone. But one thing I will warn you about, I have not been able to get that Triumph Connect app working on my Android phone whatsoever. It's supposed to give you step-by-step Google navigation, but I have never been able to get that thing to work. So your results may vary. Try it on your iPhone and let me know in the comments if you've been able to get your Triumph Connect app working. Another thing I'd like to mention before we go for our ride is the windscreen. And I've been really impressed how easy it is to handle and adjust this windscreen while you're riding. So if your hand is on the throttle, you can adjust the windscreen comfortably with one hand, and it's a very smooth and secure operation. So if you're riding on the highway and you want more wind protection, you can pull it all the way up so the wind passes over your helmet. Then if you're standing and off-roading and you don't want to have a bump smash your helmet with the windscreen, you can push it down very easily with one hand and really adjust on the fly depending on where you want that wind blast to go. So really nice feature and very happy with this bike. Now that we've covered that little overview about the comfort and kind of feel of the bike when you first sit on it, let's go for a little ride and start on-road and then hit a little off-road patch to show you the different riding modes. Alright everyone, so I've got my GoPro camera on the chin and I've got my Insta360 behind me, so hopefully you can see this bike from all angles and kind of see what I'm talking about. So, on the road, this bike is incredibly comfortable, and I was talking about this kind of early when we were still in the parking lot, but the seating position is upright, there's really not that much bend in the knees, but it is a little sporty in terms of the foot position. Your legs aren't quite out in front of you. What I do sometimes on the highway, though, there's a little crash bar here, so you can put your foot up here and really kind of take a break if your knees need a little rest. So that's a nice thing. The comfort, the ergonomics are fantastic. And then again, like I was saying, you can really shift back and use the pillion seat as kind of a little butt bolster to give you a little bit of support there. So longer rides, especially if you're doing some highway miles, getting out to kind of whatever off-road or on-road things you're going to be doing, it is very, very comfortable. So now, let's talk about kind of the throttle inputs, the cruise control, things like that. The throttle is very responsive, and especially in the lower gears, you feel the torque very, very quickly. When you're in the cruising speeds, you really don't need to put much force onto the throttle, so it is comfortable. On the lower gears, and especially off-road, the throttle is very sensitive, so I do find my forearm and wrist getting a bit tired after a long day, especially if you're in the lower gears very much. But if you're cruising around at a consistent speed, the cruise control is fantastic. You push one button to activate it, set it, and there you go, you're cruising. It's very stable, right? Obviously I'm riding with no hands, which I don't recommend doing, but very stable and very easy to control. And then to deactivate it, you don't have to jab the brakes or anything like on some motorcycles. You push the throttle forward, and it calmly deactivates the cruise control, so you don't get that very jerky feel. So right now, we're hitting a little bump. And talk about the suspension. The suspension, as I mentioned, you can really adjust from your menu on the fly, and it goes all the way from sport to comfort. With sport, it's going to be a little bit more direct, a little bit more stiff. In the comfort mode, you can go over speed bumps and speed humps at, 40, 45 miles an hour, and you barely feel that. And anytime I've had passengers, they've really commented on about how comfortable and smooth this ride is. So I really have enjoyed that so far. Haven't had any issues with potholes or any sort of bolting pain into my spine from hitting a bump. So that's been fantastic. Another comfort smoothness thing is the quick shifter. And this quick shifter is honestly one of the smoothest that I've had on any motorcycle. So I'm going to drop it down to first gear now. Really, first to second gear is quite jerky, but here, even with little throttle, it is very, very smooth. And then as you continue up the rev range, 3, 4 just continues to get even smoother. And then between 4, 5, and 6, you barely even feel the quick shifter activating. And similarly with downshifting, you don't really feel any sort of jerkiness or bumpiness. So 5, 4, 3, 2. I mean, it is incredibly smooth. You don't see my helmet. You don't see my body jolting around. So really excellent thing. So you can't have it all good on any motorcycle. So that brings me to one of my in-ride pet peeves and negatives on this motorcycle. When you're riding below 6,000 RPM, it's a very smooth, comfortable ride. But once you get up to 5,000, 6,000 RPM, especially as you're approaching highway cruising speed, you start to feel a lot of vibration in the handlebars and in the foot pegs. And over time, that's fairly uncomfortable, especially if you're cruising at a fixed speed over time. So I'm going to try to get up there in fourth gear. So we're going, close to 60 here. And right around now, I'm starting to feel those vibrations. So that's just based on the engine and its characteristics. That's just part of the game. Now, if you want a smoother ride, the Boxer engine on the GS's is a bit smoother, but then again, you're missing out on the sound and kind of quality of the triple. So really, you gotta test ride both and see what you like. Along those lines, once you start hitting highway speeds, about 60 to 80 miles an hour, you start feeling humming noise coming from the tires. So these are Metzler's, and they're leaning towards the road direction. I think they're 70-30. So at highway speeds, due to the knobbiness, you do get a hum in the tires. That's not that big of a deal, and you can always switch them out, at your next tire change to some different type of tire. But that is one thing that I've noticed that's been kind of an annoyance when I've been riding. Obviously, not a huge deal. So that's the in-ride stuff. Let's talk a bit about the riding modes and kind of what I've loved about this bike so far. Right now, I have it in road mode, and you can see down there it's a little picture of a road.
They also have a rain mode and a sport mode. So let me show you those. And again, very easy to access from this menu. You just push up, and here's your rain. It alters your traction control settings. There's an individual rider mode that you can set up. I haven't done that yet because I've just really felt comfortable with all the modes that they've had to offer me. And then they have a off-road pro mode and a sport mode. So the sport mode, I'll put that in right now. Why not? Close throttle, confirm, and here we are. We're in sport mode, and already I feel the throttle responsiveness is twitchier, as you'd expect from a sport mode. So let me just go a little bit quicker here around this turn. And as I mentioned in my earlier video, the handling of this motorcycle is really fantastic. You can really lean into this turn. So it really has some giddy up to it if you want, right? And the brakes are Brembos, they're fantastic, and the downshifting in first gear is really great. So, here's some potholey type stuff, and I'll just show you, even in sport mode, with the stiffer suspension, you barely even feel this stuff. So I've just been so pleasantly surprised riding this in sport mode. And I made this point before, you could really have this as your only motorcycle. You can do sport riding in it, you get very nice leaning, it doesn't fall down in your corners, it's got really nice suspension. And then obviously for the off-road, we'll get there shortly, but let me turn left here. No cars? Yep, okay. So, again, sport mode, even in first gear. And I felt that front tire come up. You probably saw the traction control light come on. It is a very fun bike, even in first gear. And this is coming from a guy who has a Ducati Street Fighter V4 as their secondary bike. And this bike almost sometimes feels more fun, to be honest, because the electronic interventions on that Ducati are so intense that even open throttle 208 horsepower, you're not going to wheelie that motorcycle in road mode. Here, though, you can pop a wheelie if you're comfortable, which I am not, but that's just not my style of riding. All right, we're going to turn left here and then hit our little off-road patch. So when I made my first video for you guys doing the full review of this bike, I didn't have any off-road riding experience, but I did take an off-road class down in Virginia, and I'll put a link up top so you can see kind of what that included and how this bike performed on all those crazy surfaces. But that kind of gave me a little more confidence, so I'm just going to show you the ride modes there. So while we're approaching this, it's going to be another minute or so, I'm going to talk about really the other things about this bike. The fuel tank has really great capacity, great range. I'm not finding myself filling up very often. The mirrors are really great, very easy to adjust. You can see, I think you can see in the camera, you get a really great view back. And then if you're standing on your pegs, you can also adjust them on the fly. It's very nice adjustability. The fairing here, you don't feel much wind on your legs, so that's extra comfortable thing. They put these little radiator deflectors off as well, so if it's really hot, the air blows out this way. And in the winter, it's a nice little cheat code. You can stick your hand in there to warm it up. So lots of nice little perks about this motorcycle. So here we are approaching my little off-road area, which I haven't been into yet. I've just been passing it by, and the nice thing is there's no signs about no trespassing. There's no signs saying private property. So let's just give it a try together on video for the first time, see how it goes. But one thing that does annoy me quite a bit is having to stop your motorcycle completely to change it into off-road mode. And I'll show you now, there's a light screen, so there's not enough time. So all the other ride modes, except off-road and off-road plus, you have to be you're able to stop those on the fly. But here, so I'm on the concrete now, and I'm stopped, and I'm still in road mode. But so the issue here is that you have to be completely stopped, and then go down to off-road mode, click it in, and it disables your ABS in the back and traction control as well. So that's probably why you have to be stopped. But again, it's just incredibly annoying, because if you're in an area where you're going between off-road and on-road and concrete, you have to stop every time or keep it in off-road mode, but then you have an issue with traction control. So that's just the way it is. But that's one of my big pet peeves. So let's see. I haven't been here before. They've been doing some construction, replanting some trees. So let's see, got a bunny rabbit there. Got a lot of wildlife. There are tire tracks, so I kind of wonder what's back here. But as you can see, very smooth response, very stable motorcycle. I don't know what's back here, but kind of interested to see. So yeah, in my off-road experience, ooh, that's a big blue heron out there. Very pretty. So yeah, in my experience, the minimal off-road riding I've done, this bike has been really up to the challenge. I've seen crazy videos of people doing off-road kind of rally stuff with this, so let me go up here. But yeah, more than capable. I mean, stuff like this is easy work for this motorcycle. So again, I've been very comfortable and very happy with what it's been able to do. So here, I guess this is the end of the road here, so let me do a quick turn without going into the grasses. All right, we are moving again. That little turn took longer. So again, I need to practice, but I'll get there. All right, let's a little speed, see how it goes. Very manageable, very fun off-road. Got a little deer here. Again, that little rabbit scaring these animals here. But it's all good. So here we are, back to that little gravel area. And here's the thing now, gotta deactivate the riding mode, stop it, and then put it into road mode. There we go. Alright, so, as I mentioned, a bit frustrating, especially if you're going between on and off. But there you have it, alright. So we're back in the proper mode, riding around. So I'm just going to give you a quick wrap-up. Overall, I have been just thrilled with this motorcycle, with the performance. Obviously, I've taken it more on-road than off-road, but the little experiences I've had with the off-road and the gravel and fire trails have been super smooth, super comfortable, felt super stable. So again, I want to get more experience with that, going off-road, doing some trail rides. But as a dual-purpose adventure motorcycle, you can really get away with just having this one motorcycle. It's got the luggage, it's got cruise control, it's got heated grips, it's got a great windscreen, and honestly, it's got the looks too. I think it's, for me, probably one of the most attractive off-road adventure-style motorcycles on the market right now. So, again, give this bike a shot. Not a lot of people talk about Triumphs, and especially the Tiger 1200 is a really flagship motorcycle that can go up there and compete with the big ones like the GS's, the 1200 Super Teneres, the Africa Twins, all those great motorcycles. So, give this bike a shot and tell me in the comments what you think. Thanks again for watching.